we'll take official action once they are here, but at the very least, want to go ahead and move forward with the public comment. And then, can we do public comment without quorum? Okay, we'll do public comment, and then we'll do presentations, and as they come in, we'll officially move forward with the meeting. So we'll do public comment first. We don't have to have quorum for public comment, but I definitely understand you want to address the full body, but they'll be here in the coming minutes, I've been told, but we don't want everyone to continue to have to wait if we don't have to. So we'll go ahead and still move forward with that portion. All right, so just to make this a little bit more official, I'm Councilmember Jason Dozier. I'm the chair of the Community Development and Human Services Committee. I am joined by Councilmember Byron D. Amos to my right, Councilmember Jason Winston to my left. Like I said, we don't have official quorum yet, so as far as calling to order, we want to officially call to order, but we will start with public comment. As far as our first speaker, I have Matthew Brock as our first speaker. Is he here? It will pop up on the screen in a second. Is Matthew Brock in the room? What about Adam Brock? Adam Brock. Anna Maria Hazard? You're the fourth on the list, Mr. You're on the list. You're just not. You weren't the. Yes. So I'm just going down. They're not in the room clearly, so we'll get to you in 1 second, Brother Anthony. These are from last. No, I don't think so. Okay. 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 Well, either way, they're not here today. So our next speaker is Brother Anthony Muhammad. And as always, you have 3 minutes, but I'll whisper gently into the microphone as you get to that 30-second mark.
Right, to continue this forward, this committee without having.
We can continue with public comment and presentations. We just cannot take any action as a body without quorum. So we can still take public comment without.
I'm going to check on this. I am that I am, King of Kings, Kemetic, indigenous, spiritual being. I command the ancestors. I command the ancestors. I command antiquity, spiritual energy to teach my soul consciousness every day. One of the creators of the heaven and earth, ancient name, not Sharif. I am not a believer in the Roman Catholic Church religion, Christianity, in your Bible, your 66 books from Genesis to Revelation. Not one person, not one human person was born from a woman's womb. I come here to speak about the problems I heard Ms. Norwood mention on the television news. There was a person killed in her district. I'm very sorry for the 77-year-old lady, the 76 years of age lady. There was a crime, they said, could have happened at her home. Because we know Buckhead is economically empowered by $14 billion. Ms. Norwood came here the first of the year and asked, crime is bad. She wrote up some proposal and gave it to you legislators, and y'all passed it. They put a precinct again in Buckhead. Now we have again crying out about the crime. But let's be clear, Ms. Norwood and you members of this committee, the state of dark matter peoples in America, 50% of the household have less than $1 in the bank. You got the 75% of every dollar that we earn in this country. Some people say $1.3 trillion goes to the top 10% of about 43 million people. Why is it that we can have the top 10% generating 75% of the wealth, and yet we don't have no voices? We had my brother Derek Bozeman here. We got proclamation. I soldiered with Derek, and I've been many places supporting the interests of our people, but I suffer when poor people don't get justice in Atlanta. You got houses in Atlanta. It's not available for our people. You got a red hot city, housing race exclusion in the 21st century. Who they excluded? Dark matter people. We have you, Mr. Doge, representing this committee, and Mr.
30 seconds.
Atlanta returned $1.3 million unspent workforce development money. We still have Atlanta workforce, and it's still not providing the services adequate as it should for the people that need training. We have $4 million federal grant to train low-skilled workers, and yet we lose the money in the Senate, and it went back to the federal government. What are you all going to do in 2023 to help the poor on the street? That's my concern, and help our brothers and sisters who is not able to get economic empowerment. What you going to do, Atlanta? And the majority of the people look like you. I greet you as I did not greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Ashe, and Ashe. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Brother Anthony. Our next speaker is Ms. Henry Jordan, and then from there we'll go back into the normal business. Ms. Jordan.
Giving honor to the Spirit of God to everyone that's here. He that heareth you heareth me, and he that despises you despises me, and he that despises me despises him that sent me. Luke 10, chapter 16, verse. Despise is Paul's language here to echo Jesus' words in Luke 10, 16. Jesus desires for us to seek his righteousness, James Swift, to have life and not death. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. Job 2nd chapter 3rd verse. A second test results in the loss of Job's health. God boasted on Job, and Job didn't know it. God gave Satan permission to hurt Job. For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels. Luke 9, chapter 26, verse. The gospel is so powerful that it takes people all the way into heaven if we are prepared. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Job 1st chapter 7 verse. In Peter 5 chapter 8 verse, Satan is described as your adversary, the devil, seeking whom he may devour. We should ask Jesus for the power to obey him to avoid Satan devouring us. A minister is preaching how other countries are seeking to devalue the dollar, but Jesus' plan can increase the value of the dollar. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints, Revelation 13:10. James, because you seek to lead me into captivity, you shall go into captivity. James, the reason you use the law or sword in these crooked contracts or terms, conditions to kill me, then you ask to be killed. The saints use the word and the law to warn you of destruction. God is a just God. He gives us a chance and warn us about our ways that will destroy other people. That spirit of murdering spirit that men may have to kill one another, or when you put your behinds in my face, then it goes transferred to the children. You just as guilty yourself in putting evil into those children by your action and by your deeds. And God to give an account of it in Judgment Day.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. All right, so moving back into the regular agenda, we've been joined by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, so we have quorum. And so with that, I will accept the motion to adopt the agenda. Motion to approve by Winston. I'll go ahead and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the motion or the agenda has been adopted. Next item is approval of minutes. I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes. Second. Well, I will make the motion to approve the minutes, seconded by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the minutes have been adopted. We just completed public comment, so moving on to presentations. We're joined by Commissioner Justin Cutler with the Department of Parks and Recreation for the quarterly report. Good to see you, Commissioner Cutler.
Good afternoon, Chair Dozier and members of the City Council. So today I have Tara Buckner and Sabina Kuzmova joining me today. We're going to do the Equity Data Tool update first. Great, and while that's coming up for everybody, this is a project that we kicked off as part of the Activate ATL process, which was updated our 5-year comprehensive master plan for the Department of Parks and Recreation. As part of that program, we partnered with the Bloomberg program to look at how we can deliver a more equitable parks and recreation system across Atlanta. And so this Equity Data Tool is a tool that was developed as part of this process, Activate ATL. This tool will be used to help make better decisions as to how we're investing dollars for park maintenance, park capital improvements, as well as a tool that can be used by our partners, Park Pride, Nature Conservancy, Conservation Fund, as we think about land acquisition, as we think about parks and volunteers. So we hope to use this tool in a lot of different ways to help support more equitable access to parks and recreation opportunities. And now I'll be turning the presentation over to Tara and Sabina to walk it through.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioner Cutler. Activate ATL is a part of the city's overall comprehensive plan and integrates the Atlanta City Design values of access, equity, progress, ambition, and nature, as well as other citywide and individual park plans. The 3 main goals of Activate ATL are to invest in parks and recreation, connect our internal and external resources, and grow our overall parks and recreation system with a special focus on advancing parks and recreation equity. So why do we need this? Well, Metro Atlanta is the 4th fastest growing area in the country. There are estimates that say that our city of Atlanta will grow and could triple in population over the next 30 years. And so as we plan for the overall city's population growth, there's an imminent need for green space for all that live, work, and play in Atlanta. Atlanta signed on to the 10-minute walk campaign from the Trust for Public Land, which aims at 100% park access for all within a 10-minute walk of their home. Atlanta recently jumped to 77% park access, which is 5% increase from the prior year, but there's still work to be done. When we overlay maps showing race, household income, and investment, you see a pattern reflecting the historic inequities in our city, particularly in areas that were once redlined. So this is where we need equity in parks. Understanding that Atlanta is one city and the pandemic has taught us how great parks improve livability, health, and well-being, DPR is all about moving Atlanta forward. And I'll hand it over to my colleague Sabina Kuzmova to talk about the Equity Data Tool.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Tara. And thank you, Commissioner. Wonderful to see you all, council members. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to transition over to the next slide. This is just providing a little bit more context about Activate ATL that Tara spoke to, and as well as the 77% park access, which we're very excited about, but definitely more work to be done there. So what is the DPR Equity Data Tool? This tool is an online, interactive, data-driven mapping tool, especially tailored to Atlanta's parks and recreation. And you can actually access the tool now at activate-atl.com. We call it the DPR EDT. That will save us a lot of time today. You may have first heard about us talk about the tool, as Tara mentioned, during public engagement for Activate ATL. And this is because the tool actually came out of the Activate ATL plan, and a lot of the data used in the tool to build the original version was actually sourced directly from that planning effort. As Commissioner mentioned, the tool is the result of a 3-year partnership with Bloomberg Associates to help guide equitable implementation of Activate ATL. And this slide here is speaking to some of our expected outcomes. So consistent with the Activate ATL plan, the DPR EDT helps to both formalize and operationalize the consideration of disparities in Atlanta's parks and recreation. The tool is presently being used by DPR, and I know I have been using it almost daily, even just for the GIS application. It's been incredibly helpful. So in addition to building a data hub for DPR, the tool also guides our discussion as we consider how to prioritize capital improvement projects and also to validate BAS projects through an equity lens. It will also help us track our impact over time, beginning at a baseline. The tool itself uses 54 different data points at various geographic levels, and it also incorporates health data to better connect parks and recreation to health equity and life expectancy. As Tara said, we know that parks and recreation can improve your mental and physical health. And this slide here shows the measurable health outcomes and behaviors that were built into the tool as we consider health equity and consider where to expand recreational programming. One data layer that we always show in our presentations is life expectancy. It can be absolutely shocking to realize that babies born just miles apart in Atlanta can face up to a 20-year difference in life expectancy. And we won't give you all the full demonstration today, but we do have a screenshot of the tool on the next slide. So this is what the tool actually looks like. It is entirely interactive and very visual. Again, you can access this tool right now at activate-atl.com. You would just click on the tab that says DPR EDT. We have a ton of supporting documentation available there, a methodology report, video tutorials, video presentations, quick start instructions, and more. Now, to the right of the tool on those colored gear dials, you can see all of the scoring categories, and then you see the total need score to the left. So the 4 scoring categories are park conditions and funding, level of service, community need, and community perception. So those 4 scores are added together to give you that total park need score. And on the bottom, you can see a list of parks with the greatest need and rec centers with the greatest need. So let's talk a little bit about how we came up with these scores. So all of the data that's used in the tool is normalized and reassigned with a value on a scale of 1 to 5. So everything is standardized for analysis and mapping. And this standardization allows us to generate just one composite score for each category. And those scores allow us to develop, again, that parks with greatest need, that total need score, which is very, very well suited specifically for prioritization efforts. The higher the score, the greater the need. So creating that total need score allows us to rank those parks and recreation centers in order of greatest need. Now, these need scores and rankings are based on point-in-time data that is evaluated on a continual basis and absolutely supplemented by on-the-ground review. Now, we really are proud of the community need score. It's a very robust index for how we look at community need. This slide here shows all of the social determinants of health that went into building that community need score. So there's a total of 24 data points used across 10 indicators. Obviously a lot to read through. We will share with you all a copy of this presentation. And this slide here shows some of our contact information. We always recommend people use the Happy Feet Atlanta Parks app as well to connect with us. We are very excited to use the DPR EDT to help create a more equitable parks and recreation system for the city of Atlanta. And as Commissioner mentioned, we definitely hope that DPR won't be the only one using the tool. In addition to city departments and interested stakeholders exploring the wealth of information available in the tool, for the public especially, the DPR EDT can arm citizens with data as they advocate for their parks. Now, we're gearing up now for a formal public launch of the tool in the next few weeks to include a series of virtual learning sessions for the public, a press release, social media posts, community outreach, and much more. So we hope you please will keep an eye out for those communications. And as we said, we encourage everyone to visit activate-atl.com, check out the DPR social media channels, and definitely try that Happy Feet Atlanta Parks app. Thank you all so much for your time and interest.
Thank you. And before we move on to the second half of the DPR presentation, I do want to acknowledge we've been joined by Councilmember Destin Hillis. You can go ahead and continue.
Great. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
We'll do questions after both presentations. That way we can navigate that a little bit easier.
Okay, next presentation. Here we go. Well, first, I just want to thank everybody. I know this was a big year for me and my family. We moved across the country. My daughter always jokes and says, "Dad, why are you moving me halfway across the country?" I said, "No, honey, we're moving all the way." We moved recently from Seattle, so we're glad to be here. And really, I have the honor and the privilege of celebrating the great work of the staff at the Department of Parks and Recreation. These 400 men and women are committed daily to showing up, to providing exceptional services at our parks, our recreation centers, our pools, our golf courses, our tennis facilities, out in our parks, out in our natural spaces, to make sure that the citizens of Atlanta and our neighbors have great spaces to visit. And also the visitors that come to Atlanta. Piedmont Park is ranked, and the Atlanta Botanical Garden, which sits in Piedmont Park, are often cited as the #1 or #2 tourist attraction in Atlanta if you go on a TripAdvisor and look up where people like to go. So our parks and our recreation facilities are destinations, and they're an economic engine for our community. And so today, I'd just like to highlight some of the achievements of this group over the last quarter and across 2022. This year, the department won the Georgia Recreation Parks Association District 7 Agency of the Year Award. This is awarded to an exceptional agency within District 7, which we are in, for their exceptional service and delivery of high-quality parks and recreation services. We also offered 3 midnight basketball seasons where we had over 200 young men participate and over thousands of community members come out each night for midnight basketball. Our skilled services team and our park operations team are back on course and exceeding metrics frequently related to our service level agreements, which we'll be talking a little bit more in detail later. We also launched our Learn to Swim program again this year, coming out of the pandemic, and we've already started training lifeguards for the summer of 2023. This year, we're committed to providing lifeguards in-house, and so as part of that, we are really making strides now to make sure that we have over 100 lifeguards ready for this summer. So if you or anybody watching at home has a young person, or you yourself want a lifeguard, we're happy to teach you how to swim, get you in the pool, get you comfortable so you can lifeguard at one of our pools this summer. Because it's going to take everybody to make sure that we have all of our pools open this summer for community. We've also worked with Grant Park Gateway, a lot of G's there. Recently received a USGBC Georgia Chrysalis Award. This is the 4th sustainability award that this parking garage has won, and if you haven't seen the parking garage, that's because it's underground. As you drive down Boulevard, you look right over this beautiful park, and the parking garage is underneath that beautiful park, and it has a great overlook of the elephant. So if you're looking for a great way to entertain your young person on the weekend, take your kid down to Grant Park Gateway. It's a beautiful spot to watch the elephants and to hang out at the park. Also, our senior programs have returned in full force with over 1,000 seniors registered in our programs. Recently, the seniors went up to LJ for the annual Apple Festival and are doing a lot of different activities, including line dancing, arts and crafts, and cards that are at many of sites across Atlanta. Also, we've increased efforts on recruiting and hiring, moving some of our metrics down from over 30% now down to 20% and eventually 15% in our